So, are you feeling the weight of the daily digital grind? I mean, you definitely know the feeling, right? Drowning in those endless reply all emails, aimlessly clicking through a literal labyrinth of menus just to find one single document, and basically just watching your brilliant ideas stall out in endless approval chains. It is totally exhausting. But what if I told you that the solution to all this modern digital exhaustion was actually invented in a physical car factory back in the 1930s? Pretty wild, right? Well, welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to look at how principles from vintage manufacturing can completely revolutionize your modern digital workflow and just eliminate all that busy work that's holding you back. Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. We'll kick things off with the origins of a concept called Muda, break down the 8 specific types of waste, and then see how those were perfectly adapted for lean software development. After that, we'll apply this directly to your digital workplace, and then wrap the whole thing up with the absolute most critical factor of all, the human element. All right, Section 1. The origins of Muda and Toyota's 1930s innovation. Let's dive right into this by traveling back in time a bit. We're going to the 1930s, straight to the factory floors of Toyota, to look at the groundbreaking innovations of a man named Taiichi Ohno. Now, to really grasp his philosophy, we have to start with a foundational concept, and that is Muda. It's a Japanese term, and it basically means futility, uselessness, or wastefulness. Taiichi Ohno, who's widely considered the father of the Toyota production system, used this concept to point out literally any deviation from the optimal allocation of resources. So the really crucial point for us is this. From a lean management perspective, waste is strictly defined as anything that does not add value for the customer. If a customer, or hey, even an internal colleague you're providing work to, wouldn't want to pay for that specific action, then it's Muda. It's waste, pure and simple. Moving on to Section 2. The 8 types of waste and the Tim Woods framework. So to effortlessly anchor these original Toyota wastes in your mind, we use a really handy acronym. It's Tim Woods. And that stands for transporting, inventory, motion, waiting, overproduction, overprocessing, defects, and skills, specifically unused skills. Let's think about it. Every single time a part is moved unnecessarily, well, that's transporting waste. When raw materials just sit around in a giant pile doing nothing, that's inventory waste. Doing way more to a product than the customer actually requires, that's overprocessing. By meticulously categorizing inefficiencies like this, Toyota was able to systematically hunt them down and eliminate them straight from the factory floor. Which brings us to Section 3, lean software development, and translating these ideas to code. Okay, let's fast forward to the modern era. In the early 2000s, experts like Mary and Tom Poppendieck realized something amazing. They saw that these physical, real-world concepts mapped one-to-one with software engineering. It's kind of like a giant puzzle perfectly clicking into place. Physical inventory in a factory, that translates to partially done work in software, like abandoned code. Overproduction in a factory maps perfectly to extra features in software, which we all know as software bloat. And instead of the physical transportation of heavy goods, software teams suffer from the mental transportation of task switching. Motion simply becomes the unnecessary handoffs between different developers. It's honestly fascinating because the exact same inefficiencies that totally derail physical assembly lines are the very same ones plaguing our modern code bases. So, to combat these wastes, the Poppendieck's codified 7 core principles. It starts out simple enough. Eliminate waste and amplify learning through really short feedback loops. It also requires you to decide as late as possible based on actual facts, but deliver as fast as possible so you can get that crucial feedback. Ultimately, it's all about empowering your team and building conceptual integrity into the whole system, rather than just focusing on disjointed parts. These are the principles that guide developers to minimize risk while absolutely maximizing actual customer value. Let's move into Section 4. The digital workplace and applying modern lean concepts. Think for a second about how we can reframe the idea of motion. In a factory, motion waste is the physical wear and tear of a worker unnecessarily walking all the way across the floor just to grab a wrench. But in our world, it's digital exhaustion. It's you having to click through 5 incredibly complex, horribly designed internet menus just to find one basic HR document. Or having to open 3 entirely different apps just to complete one simple task. That unnecessary clicking, that is digital motion waste, and it burns up your time and energy just as surely as walking miles across a concrete factory floor. Next up, we have overproduction. Physically, this means making a massive batch of products before anyone has actually agreed to buy them. In manufacturing, it's often called the absolute worst kind of waste. But in the digital workplace, overproduction is sending out countless broadcast emails or thoughtlessly hitting that dreaded reply all button and CCing colleagues who literally have zero need for the information. It's also spending hours producing 20-slide presentation decks when a simple 5-minute conversation would have done the job. It clogs our digital storage, sure, but more importantly, it severely overloads our team's cognitive bandwidth. Then, of course, we have inventory. Back in a 1930s warehouse, inventory waste was just stacks of raw materials gathering dust and taking up physical space without producing a dime of income. Well, inside your computer, digital inventory is basically any work in progress that just sits idle. Think of a customer's loan request trapped in a pending queue, or an unapproved time-off form just waiting for a manager to finally sign it. This digital inventory adds cost to the enterprise and creates a massive bottleneck, all without delivering a single ounce of actual value to the end user. And you've got to look at this comparison for transportation. Moving heavy goods around a physical factory risks damaging the goods and costs a ton of money. In the digital realm, transportation is all about data. If you are sending huge presentation files as email attachments, instead of just sending a quick, simple shared link, you are creating digital transportation waste. You are unnecessarily multiplying the number of files circulating, which creates total version control nightmares, drives up enterprise storage needs, and bogs down servers. It seems like a small thing, but at scale, it completely clogs up a company's communication systems. Finally, Section 5, the human element, looking at motivation and talent. You see, Taiichi Ohno originally identified just 7 wastes, but years later, lean practitioners realized they actually missed the most important one of all, which was eventually added as the 8th waste, non-utilized talent. This happens when an employee's amazing skills, brilliant ideas, or valuable previous job experiences go completely unknown and unused because they're trapped in rigid management hierarchies or organizational silos. Lean principles explicitly tell us to empower the team. Telling a highly skilled worker exactly how to do their job, rather than trusting them to actually solve problems, is a massive failure of lean management. It's just a tragic waste of human potential. Building on that whole idea of the human element, lean writer Jim Womack observed another deeply debilitating alternative form of waste, which is perfectly captured by this famous Henry Ford quote: "You can think you can achieve something, or you can think you can't, and you will be right." Womack pointed out that self-doubt, thinking you can't improve a process, or thinking you don't have the power to fix your own digital workplace, is the ultimate waste. Actually, scratch that. Without true empowerment, no workflow can ever truly be optimized. So we've traced the concept of Muda all the way from the physical assembly lines of the 1930s, straight through to the unread emails sitting in your inbox right at this very moment. We've seen exactly how unnecessary clicks, pending approvals, and unutilized talent are just completely draining our energy and our value. Which leaves me with one final, pretty important question for you. Where is the Muda hiding in your digital workplace today? Take a hard look at your daily routines, identify that waste, and start eliminating it. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, happy optimizing.